call the City of Cape Canaveral Culture and Leisure Services Board regular meeting to order. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Here. Angela Truelock. Here. Kathy Parks.
Here.
Joel Fair.
Here.
Betsy Ronk.
Here.
Larry Holmes.
Here.
And Mary Muscara is not in.
Thank you very much. The first item on action is to approve or amend the agenda. The agenda's in front of us. Any
I
recommendation?
move we approve. I would like to offer an amendment to it.
Okay.
And I just wanted for, maybe we should talk about the calendar of the meetings for the rest of the year, because the November meeting falls with Thanksgiving, so I thought maybe we should set a schedule of meeting times that is workable for all.
I don't know where all the meeting times are. Is there?
We had it.
It was posted, I don't know when, beginning of the year, maybe?
I believe that was part of the first meeting of the year.
Yes.
Or the last meeting of last year.
Yeah.
So we'll have one more opportunity to discuss that before we go into November or December.
So should we put it on, would your recommendation be then to put it on the
It'll
next
be on
meeting's
the
agenda?
next agenda.
Or should we not meet in September and meet in October and skip November, because then there's no December and then we meet again in January?
I'll have to go back in the records because you guys already voted on the dates for this year.
Pardon?
You guys already voted on the dates for this year, so I'll have to go back and figure out what was established, because if we've already posted that there is a meeting, we would have to post a cancellation as well.
That was my only, looking ahead, I know that last year, we ended up as well canceling November, and so then we went like 4 months with no meeting. And I don't know if there'll be things that are important to meet about or not. So I just thought, is it more proactive to say, well, maybe we should move September to October, and then there'd be 2 more months, and then the January meeting, just to spread it out, that's all, instead of having such a long break.
Moving it to the last Thursday in October would be logistically incredibly difficult because the largest event of our year is the following day.
Because,
The largest event of our department's year is the following day.
well, we don't have to be tied to a Thursday, do we?
Not necessarily, but that's usually the plan because we are competing, if you will, for space with other boards.
Right, and I realize that, and that's why I thought, well, maybe if we talk about it sooner than later, then however the calendar for the city space here gets eaten up and scheduled, then it could be noted that we're looking for a time and space that's available so as to be more amenable to any needs that shouldn't just be put off for many, many months. That's all I'm trying to say. So I just thought I'd bring it up now. But if
I'd really like to see the calendar before we start messing with it.
Okay.
What if,
I can have Samantha distribute that via email to everyone tomorrow morning,
That's reasonable.
and then we can address it from there, if that would be helpful.
Thank you, Molly.
okay, well, why don't we go ahead and take a note that next meeting for sure, we want to look at that November date and change it if we haven't already changed it by the meeting. Is that okay?
okay.
All right.
No, it's just knowing that November, December are always so difficult with people being gone, having holiday
Right.
concerns, that's all.
Appreciate that foresight. Any other possible amendments to the agenda or any motions to approve this agenda?
I've already made the motion to approve it.
Kathy makes a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. The current agenda is approved. Did everyone have a chance to look at the meeting minutes from the last meeting in May? Okay. Any recommendations, or do we want to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of May 25th.
And I'll second that.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Aye. All right. Fantastic. We have one agenda item. Agenda item 3, review the user fee data and estimated operating costs for the City of Cape Canaveral Community Center and make a recommendation for City Council to maintain or increase rates for the upcoming fiscal year. The staff sent out a packet that was extensive. Thank you. But what we got with that is we got the raw data. And so I do appreciate having that data. Molly, do you want to give us an overview real fast of the data and then maybe the reason that you gave the 2 recommendations that you did?
Yes. So I tried to summarize for you on that first page before you got hit with 45 pages of 10-point font numbers that seemed incredibly repetitive, but a trend emerges as soon as you really look at it. There's a lot of words that pop out at you. So what I asked from finance, because at the previous meeting where I said, hey, here's some preliminary numbers, I want you guys to take some time to kind of look at this and reach out in the community and see what you're, see how people are feeling. It occurred to me that on multiple occasions with Rec Desk, we've changed how we ring things in to benefit the customers and to meet the needs. Some of you remember, I don't remember if it was our board or a council meeting, where a couple pickleball players approached and said, hey, we want punch cards. So we tried that out for a little while. It didn't take off. They physically wanted a punch card, and we weren't going that route. We're not going to step back in time. We're going to do the digital thing. So they ended up not wanting that and going with monthly and annual memberships instead. And it occurred to me that since we had changed on multiple ways how we rang things in on a day-to-day basis and changed the names of things, and then of course we had updates to the fee schedule, that it wasn't the best way to represent the actual hard numbers of what we were looking at. So I reached out to finance and I showed them what we have, and what we had was hundreds of pages, and I said, what do you have? I want to see where, no matter where we ring it in, if we call it this, there's a GL account associated with it, a general ledger account, and that's what hits the bank. I said, show me what your categories are, because honestly, I might amend some of the ways we ring things in to make it cleaner like theirs is. And so she came back with membership and user data. That's all in one nice little package, which is what we needed it to be, whether you're a monthly member or dropping in for the day or an annual member. It doesn't matter. Those are the user fees that council votes on that you guys recommend on. Another category of that is the facility rental revenue. Regardless of what facility is, that's the revenue that's coming in, that's how it's hitting the account, whether they're a nonprofit, a for-profit, a birthday party, no matter what it is or how it's rung in, that's the account it goes to. So the numbers that you've got in front of you reflect, with the exception of the insurance benefit revenue, I wanted you guys to see that as well. The membership and daily revenue are what the C5 brings in or has brought in for general users for the last year. And then the facility rental revenue is the same. I pulled the C5 membership, or the C5 facility rentals out of the Manatee Sanctuary Park and the other ones, so you saw what that facility is bringing in specifically. The one thing that I'm not sure if I noted in the summary or not, no matter what we change our rates to, it won't affect what those insurance companies pay us. That's a negotiated thing on a level beyond all of us. They basically offer, and we can either take it or leave it. There's no negotiation in that.
Looking at all those pages of data, because I'm kind of a data person, it wasn't fiscal year 22, 23, which, when does your fiscal year start, October?
October,
It started with the calendar year of January
for
think-
the insurance benefits.
for the insurance ones. So that was 6 months, and then the others were 9 months of data.
Right.
Yeah, so I went and annualized the amount so that we'd get a better idea if trends went as they did. The user fee totals for the annualized amount, which is better used to, if you're going to compare it to what she's got later with the cost of estimated operating costs for the year. Anyway, the total cost or the total fees that are being collected on an annualized rate is $120,000. And that does include Nancy Hansen as well, right?
For which page are you referring to?
Just the overall data, membership daily revenue, does that include Nancy Hansen or not? I thought it did because it looked like Nancy Hansen was in the large breakdown from finance.
Not the daily user rate memberships. That is specific to C5 Community Center use.
Oh, so this is just the C5? Okay.
Yes, and that's why if you see some of the pages, when you get down into, past the bulk of it, because the bulk of it is the actual like day-to-day user, I'll use this example. I don't know what page in the packet is, but it is the insurance pages. You'll see where it's highlighted. That's specifically the ones that we're looking at. So when you go to the page that has facility rentals, you'll see Banana River Park, you'll see a couple other ones, but the ones that are highlighted are the totals for the C5 specifically.
Okay,
Because
okay.
right now, those are the only fees we're looking at. Those are the only fees requested by council for review at this time.
Can you, so that's what came in. Where is, sorry, let me scroll. Cost for the year is also those same dates,
Yes,
fiscal year,
that's fiscal year so far.
and it's through the beginning of July. So that would be 3/4 of what the cost will be for the year. Okay. So we could annualize that also, or we can just work with the numbers that we have, understanding that.
Well, the expenses are for a full year of operations.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
so they're not,
because that I have a full year of. I can't really provide, if we go May to May, last May, we weren't charging people for the facility.
right.
We were only charging non-residents.
So, but what you're saying is this is a projection of a year's worth of expenses?
These are the estimated
Got
of
it.
a year's worth of expenses.
Perfect.
And unfortunately, as all things do, the cost of permitting and a lot of the preventative maintenance things have gone up because those companies are raising their prices.
Right.
So that's why we call it an estimate, because in 2 months, we might get another bill that says, oh, well, we're renewing you, but it'll be at a different rate, so.
So big picture, we're gonna bring in 125,000-ish this past year, and we're looking at 350,000 going out for expenses.
Yeah,
So,
with the bulk of
If we-
that being staffing.
okay. Is that current staff? Sorry.
So we're covering the estimated general expenses every year for this year.
Just
not
about,
the- Just not the staffing, yeah.
yeah, just not the
That was
staffing.
The staffing, the general expenses, yeah.
I think having talked to some people on the city council previously about the budgeting and such, part of the concern was that this year they had put in that the revenue from memberships at the C4, C5 and such would be at the rate of 250,000. So they're like 50% short. So obviously, as they start to do their budgeting for next year, they want a more accurate picture of, so they don't run short, because that's where they are this year.
Well, we can, doesn't look like there's any public participation for this agenda item, so the conversation is just us then. We have three proposals, but those are simply the proposals that have been given to us. The first one is to maintain the current fee structure. There is no reduction in a fee structure because all fees are going up. There is a possible 3% raise or a possible 6% raise in the fee structure. So those are what have been presented. There's infinite opportunities outside of those two, but I would say maybe for our conversation, we stick with those as a baseline for us. Any thoughts?
Well, I took the opportunity this week to go and talk to the people over at the C5 that check people in, after having seen the numbers here, and how is it going, and what's their process, and how many day people do they come, like how much money are they really handling on a regular basis? And basically what a couple people told me over there was, it's really nice today because it's a round number. It's $4, $3, $5, whatever. And so I said, well, what if that changed to the point where you had to give change? Because that's what we're looking at. Would that be a difficult thing to manage in your cash drawer, keeping change on hand? What do you think about that? Basically, what they said would make it easiest for staff is if it was raised by anything that was an increment of a quarter. Because then if it was like, instead of 424, if it was 425.
Right.
Or not 530, but 525 or 550 or something like that. Because then basically they know they'd really only have to keep a lot of quarters. And the other thing they said, which I guess I didn't think about, she said is, nobody's gonna come to the gym to pay with change in their pocket, because everybody hates change nowadays. So they just come with dollar bills. So you're gonna be giving them change all the time. So rarely are you going to get change, you're gonna always be giving change. So you can kind of tell by the number of daily people that come through, if we go off of that quarter idea, let's put it that way, it could just be a real pain in the butt for the staff. That's my call. And when I said to her that, she said, well, her opinion was, people, if you were to say, should it be 530 for a senior non-resident? No, just make it 550 and they won't even care. Just move on with it, because otherwise it's just becomes too difficult. Now, you know, probably doesn't matter in the monthly annual rate, because everybody's putting that on their credit card and they don't, whatever. But I thought, I think staff had a point.
Absolutely.
I think it'd be easier to, it's not on the agenda, but it's leave residents' rates the same at $4 and then raise the non-residents by $1. So there seems to be just as many non-residents coming as there are residents, and you would cover it and make it even. You wouldn't have to have change on hand, wouldn't have to have quarters everywhere.
And you're talking for the day pass?
Or any fee, like the, whatever the senior would be, for the rate category, senior would be $4, and then you get down to the non-resident, the senior would be $6.
Right, but I'm just saying for the daily entry fee,
Yeah.
that's all we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And whatever you make up after that, you know,
Right.
if you wanted to raise it by $1, it would end up, yeah.
Yeah, and we actually can propose that.
Yeah.
We just been given some estimates on if you were to increase by this percentage, if you were increased by this percentage. The problem is, if we get into micromanaging the fee schedule, then it's like, yeah, we just don't want to do that. We do want to give advice, and
You don't want to be voting on it
that's
every
right,
year. and
that's right.
Going through the numbers.
So I mean, that's a great recommendation.
Yeah.
Of, non-residents, we raise all the daily rates $1 so that it stays at an even dollar bill.
That makes it much easier.
And then use the formula that we used previously to determine the monthly and the annual rates for that, so those would, bless you, go up incrementally as well.
Now, in this, I know the main thing was that the council was like, and ourselves included, was that after a year-ish time to relook at that fee schedule. But if we're also looking at, okay, maybe we need to look at this and readjust, was there any consideration with Nancy Hansen? Or, I know we changed them, so I was
We
like,
just got them changed, so we wanted to kind of settle
them
into
alone.
that.
Okay.
And then by budget time next year, we'll have like a complete picture. Because part of the reason that they really wanted to see this again after a year is because when you open a new building, as we've all discovered, you have no idea. There's a lot of variables that pop up that you never expected. There's people that do things that you never thought people would ever consider doing. And you also don't know, who's going to come, how frequently they're going to come, what kind of use they get out of the facility, and how that's going to really play out until you physically open the doors and start, getting people in there. So.
because I think one of the things that, maybe isn't necessarily to be tackled at this point in time, but definitely I think could increase the revenue and would be a definite people pleaser to the users that I heard multiple times talking to different people there, was to, now that everybody's on the computer, to in your monthly or annual rate, to bundle Nancy Hansen with the C5. Now, I know there was always the big thing about the insurance people, but they don't pay anything anyway, so they don't need to, they should just pay their thing at Nancy Hansen. But I think a lot of the other people who are there on a regular basis are kind of like, why do I have to pay this? I'm paying this annual rate, which to them is fairly significant. And then I have to turn around and go over there and pay again. So I think, there would be a marketing way to say, we'll increase your annual slightly more than the formula, let's say. But with that, you're going to get Nancy Hansen, as an annual as well.
Yeah, the problem becomes for those who don't do racket sports, that you would increase their rates because you're trying to cover what the folks that are doing the rackets sports. And
The
so
problem being is you sell very few annual and monthly as it is compared to what you could do on the day rates. I mean, when you look at it, there were 2 annuals sold or 3 annuals sold. So it's not a biggie. I think you do sell a
We do
little
need to
bit more
stay
in the monthly.
on the Cape Center though, or on the community center.
Right, they
So-
only sold 2 annuals in the Cape Center and 3 for an adult. And as far as the monthly, they're only selling, and it might be the same person buying 4 months in a row or 6 months or whatever. They're not selling a lot. They're selling maybe 80 monthlies over the course of 9 months.
Right.
So that's only 10 a month. That's not a lot. So I'm just saying it could be a way of increasing the likelihood that, because a lot of people will move, let's say, they're playing pickleball or something, they'll move to the indoor in the spring,
Right.
in the hot weather.
We need to stay on the agenda item, which is for the community center, but we can take that as food for thought when we come back to.
That's what I said, because
Okay.
we're gonna obviously adjust the monthly and annual rates as well,
And Chair,
and the facility rentals.
if I may, one of the things that this board has helped me achieve for the first time in the city's history since Nancy Hansen was around, is that we have a full-on fee schedule now. So all of these little bites that we've been taking at all these meetings, and I had some people question me on how I was presenting them like that. They're like, you need to put it all together. I'm like, yeah, we'd still be at that meeting today if we had looked at every single park, every single fee, all of it, all together. The next time that council is presented with a fee schedule from this department will be next year. And it'll have, all of our reviews, update of Nancy Hansen and update of this, and it'll be one single resolution tying all of those individual resolutions together. And at that time, we could introduce the idea of a separate bundle rate for those handful of people that do go back and forth. So that's an opportunity there. We have another fee opportunity, because as soon as you get one thing done, another thing pops up. We are being approached by more outside tennis organizations, and there's a new pickleball organization that is independent of us. We're not running it, we're not signing people up, but they want to use our courts as home. So one of the things that we did with the last fee item was that we provided an opportunity for the city to gain some revenue should another children's ball organization want to use one of our fields. So in taking that context of this outside organization basically engaging in a facility rental of our athletic courts, maybe that's something that we standardize for, the use of our tennis courts or the use of the pickleball courts or whatever. If somebody comes up with a U.S. Shuffleboard Association and they want to use our courts as home, well, then we'll have a structure in place. So it's not like, ooh, do we charge $3 a player, $5 a player? It can be managed effectively. So we have the opportunity, like you said, to create a separate bundle so that if somebody does want to go back and forth like that, there's an opportunity for them.
Are you talking about like a Cape Canaveral year-long activities pass or something like that?
Yeah, like a rec pass, or if you're a,
Pass
or if you're a, I forget the name of the movie, the multi-pass.
Old time.
Yes.
Well, we have one thought of raising all non-resident day passes $1, and then staff would do the work to annualize, or to extrapolate that to what the monthly membership would be then, and the annual membership would be. Are there any thoughts on any other changes that we would recommend to the fee schedule?
And the reason we want to raise prices is, I kind of, or that we don't know what the prices are going to be, or things are going up. I just wanted to.
Yeah, great question. I think the reason we would raise the price is because the revenue is not what council expected for the year. They had a guesstimate of 250,000, and we're going to bring in 125,000. Second would be the expenses being more than we had thought that they were going to be. So there is a disparity between our expenses and our revenue.
The The city council thought that all of the fees that we've been talking about
Mm-hmm.
would bring in
250, yeah. That was what they budgeted for.
Okay.
Or that was the revenue they were expecting, let's put it that way. Granted, like Molly said, it's the beginning, you
Right.
just don't know.
It's all
and,
guesswork.
you know,
It's a
whatever.
crapshoot at the beginning. yeah.
Well, and we found, I don't know if any of you have ever taken a real close look at our budget book, but they've evolved over the years. And at one point, when it came to the capital improvement projects, they started asking directors to put in, like, if it's a revenue generating item, an estimate on how much that would bring in, or if it's going to be something that costs money to maintain, how much money they anticipate it costing. And one of the first budget books that I went through with our deputy finance director, Jenny, they thought it was going to cost $15,000 to run that building. That was my reaction. I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I guess if it was all solar lit and
Right.
didn't require any toilet paper and had all volunteer staff,
Self-cleaning.
perhaps.
It was self-cleaning, you just push a
Definitely
button.
self-cleaning. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, and to just put everything out, we don't have to raise the price. Like, we could, that is one of the options. And there's, again, infinite options. We could lower the price. But because there's a disparity between income and outgoing, that would be one of the reasons we would want to raise the price. Yeah, those are the thoughts behind it.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
just trying to figure out why we were doing it.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts? Any other?
So what about the facility rentals, which is on here as well as an increase?
Yep. That is definitely an option.
That's another,
Yeah, because if you increase those, you're going to, if you increase them by 3%, you're going to get another $30. No, $300 on $10,000. If you increase them by 6%, so you could do that. We could do that.
well, the nice thing is that after what we went through the last couple meetings, we know we're giving a reasonable discount to many groups. So if they're getting a 50% discount or 25% discount or whatever, even if we were to raise it, let's say the 66%, they're not paying that. They're not paying a 6% increase.
Right.
So they'd only be paying less than, half of that. So then basically, I didn't look at that closely to see how many people are paying full price for the rental. Because they would be the ones who would be most affected by the, let's
Well,
say,
you won't
6%.
know that from the data we have because all of the data was full price.
Oh, it didn't have any discount because of,
There were no discounts.
Because
all
we
of
hadn't
the
discounted
fiscal
it
year.
yet.
Correct.
so the revenue here is a little bit squishy. Because we don't know moving forward, then you're right, I guess I didn't realize that those discounts as of did the council pass those?
It did.
They did, okay, so moving forward, it
Right,
started.
we'll be able to
Did it
see that
start,
data.
like in July 1st? Okay, that's good, that's good.
Yeah. So facility rentals could be an increase in revenue.
Well, again, you could take, let's say, the 6% And then for like the resident rates, just make it rounded up or rounded down, just to make it easier on your books. $100 or $120 for non-resident rates. And, and now that there's many that are getting the discount, that would be negligible then to them.
Do we want to, would you want to raise both resident and non-resident, since we're only talking about raising resident day passes? You know what I'm saying? Like, do we want to be consistent across that with non-residents and residents, or do we take facilities as a completely? Do you guys have any thoughts?
I'm learning.
Okay, all right.
My only thought is the same as hers, the 6%, but, cut out the 24 cents and make it 25 cents, or, just make them
Okay.
easy numbers that
Yep.
they can, yes.
Because if you were, someone today who's renting the conference room for $88, you're a resident, you're getting a 50% discount, you're paying $44, the hourly rate. It would go to, yeah, so you're only, so your only amount is negligible here. Would go to $48, so you're paying $4. It goes to $46, so they're only paying $2.50 more. But yet, if you were not getting any discount, then, yeah, we're getting, a much larger increase from those people who are just community use.
I'm not going to engage too much in that, but you guys feel free to, just because where I sit. So I will say, let's put something to vote. Put a recommendation out, look for a second, and then we can vote on that. So if we're talking a $1 increase across the board for non-residents, day passes,
No increase for veterans, first responders either.
okay?
Yeah, those ones are actually based off of that lowest senior day rate.
Okay.
So that would make sense to keep that the same, if that's what you guys would like to do.
Right, but keep it the same. So the motion would be to change the general use to keep the resident rates as they are today and the non-resident rates to be $6 for seniors, $7 for adults, and $3 for children. I'm making that
Well, we're
motion. I'm making that motion.
Well, hold on, let's finish, because you're gonna make it all together, right? So that's the change that we would make to general use, and then you have a facilities general change that you wanna
Oh, I
make.
was thinking, let's break it into two hunks, just to make it easier to,
You could break it into two
Okay.
hunks, especially given the fact that you would have to recuse yourself from the facility rental one.
Okay. And so we have a motion and we have a second. And that's with 0 change to the residential rates and 0 change to the other rates. Correct? under,
$1 to the non-resident rates, 0 to the residents, and 0 to the veterans.
correct.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the table. With a second, Secretary, will you call the roll?
Angela Trulook,
Decided
Okay, all right.
Kathy Parks,
4.
okay, Betsy Ronk,
4.
Larry Holmes.
I actually can't vote on this one.
Oh, you can. Oh, sorry. Joel Fair.
4.
Okay.
I will.
Okay. And Angela is 4.
4.
All right.
The facility rentals, it doesn't really matter, you know, the decimal points now on this, because everybody, they pay with check or credit card for the, because those are higher. It's not a daily thing where you show up and give quarters and stuff
Right.
to the guy. So you could actually do the 3%, 6%, or,
Yeah, or more, depending upon how you want to break that down. And as an admin in this department, I was here for the, was it half-cent lagoon sales tax increase. It was a nightmare of pennies. For a good cause, but yes, it was.
are you recommending not have pennies?
I like the even numbers thing. That is helpful, especially at the end of a long day when you're trying to count out.
So an even number would be, you're talking about for facilities rentals, like the gym right now is $95 for a resident per hour. You would say either 98 or 96 or something like that,
Or
rounded up.
100, or 6%.
Or
would be
100 or whatever it is, yeah. And conference room is 88. Yeah, something to that effect. That would, is.
With the
easier for-
facility rentals, 99% of the time they're paying online, or they're writing a check. So I can't
Doesn't
recall.
really matter.
It doesn't really matter on that one, but yeah, the racquetball players do not like change in their pockets. I'm sure tennis and pickleball are the same as well, so
Baseball players and
but
everybody else.
yeah, the change when you're trying to,
It's a mess.
no. So it's more important that you went the way you did for the daily use, but facility rentals is not as critical.
So under the 3%, you'd see an increase of $2,344.97, you think, on that? And at 6%, we'd see almost 4.6.
That 2,000 includes the membership.
Yeah, that does include the
Increase.
memberships.
Okay. But that's the membership increase, so that it's almost nothing then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the reason that I did the math on that one, because it's like when you say, oh, okay, 6% sounds good, or 10% sounds scary, when you look at what it really translates to, and it gives you a reason to kind of consider whether it's worth it or not.
So on here, it shows facility rental would be $9,877. What is it presently? I'm trying to
Well,
find that.
right now, if you annualize the facility rental, but now, as Joel said, there was no discount in that amount that they've listed here of the $9,000, so it's kind of hard to know, because you could say, well, they're not going to make that much next year on facility rental in 9 months, because they were charging full price, so, you'd almost have to take that $9,589 and say, you're gonna have to really discount that at probably 40% or something.
Facility rental revenue, they're projecting here is $9,589.
No, that's what we made in the last 9
That's what I
months. Yeah,
So it's not that much difference.
no.
It's like $300 in that for the 3%, and then like if I'm doing it right. Looking back and forth.
I guess in a way, I think especially for the nice facility that there is, I think that's a really reasonable rate today.
The one we have?
Yes.
The present one?
Yes, so I mean, I don't think even increasing it 6% is that big a deal, because if you go out to rent a gym space, you can't get it for that price. As nice as we have, let's put it that way.
Are you proposing 6%?
For the
Go with
facility
that.
rental increase, if we leave it at that, if Molly says she doesn't care about the pennies, I guess.
Yeah, when you never have to count them out, then it's not an issue, so. If you want to, perhaps kind of proactively guard against that 1 or 2 people that might be paying cash, I mean, you could make it like you said, the even 25 or an even dollar, or. Because there's always one, there's always one.
Always someone paying cash? If you increased all of them by $1, would that cover the same, is that the same thing? Am I looking at it?
Yeah, roughly.
It would have to be more than
No,
that.
it would have to be more than that.
Yeah.
I think if you were to raise them all close to $5, that would be close to the 6%.
Yeah.
So gym would be 100, gym 100, conference room 93, gym non-resident be 119, gym athletics 119, yeah, 97, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying, $5?
$5 per. That makes it easy.
Round numbers? Rounder?
And when you look at it that perspective, anybody paying, getting a discount, they're only paying, $250 or less, whatever. So, they're not getting the full impact of what we're raising it.
Any thoughts on that? Down at that end? I'm sorry. So I don't want.
Sounds like 6% is probably the way to go.
And just drop the cents off the
Yeah,
end?
I would, just to make it easy.
That works too.
6% and drop the cents?
Ollie says she's okay with uneven numbers for the rentals. You just have to deal with that one person that comes in and has cash.
Well, I'll make a motion that we're going to raise the facility rentals by 6%, rounding to the nearest dollar.
Rounding up to the nearest dollar.
Rounding up.
Yeah.
Across the board for resident rates and non-resident rates.
Okay, is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
All right. Secretary, will you call the roll, please? Is there any questions about what the motion is?
No.
Okay,
No,
great.
no.
4.
Angela Truelook.
4.
Okay. Kathy Parks.
4.
Joel Fair. Not, okay, I'm getting confused. Betsy Ronk.
4.
Okay, and Larry Holmes.
I just have a request for your great notes that you send out. Like when you send out the notes for this month, if you could include just what at the actual rates, since none of these are right. Do you know what I'm saying?
What we propose.
What the actual
Actual proposed
proposal
amount,
is, yes.
amounts would be, because
Yes.
otherwise, I'm always trying to take notes, and then I'm like, did I write that down right, or did we
Well, it'd
change
be
that?
94 and 101.
Yeah.
and 101 and 98, and 121 and 121. That's what I think. their meeting.
Excellent. Any other, that's all that we wanted to change to the fee schedule, correct? We took it in two portions, top portion and the bottom portion. Okay, great.
This goes to the council, and they'll look at it and go,
Yay, nay, whatever.
Yay, nay, or do it again, Sam?
Yeah, so
Sorry, play it again, Sam.
I do think that's good to go over, like,
he's a troublemaker.
when the agenda comes to us, this is staff's work that they put together on things that have either been brought to them by us, brought to them by city council, brought to them by the city manager for action, and then they bring those actions to us, and we as an advisory board look at it, use our best wisdom, and then what we do is we take that usually what they give us, either approve it and say, hey, this is our recommendation to council, or we amend it in some way. And then we are simply an advisory board that is saying, hey, we've looked at the data that's been presented to us, and this would be our advice on what would be good. So that's kind of our role. That's the way things work. If we were to have something that we wanted to see done outside of what's on the agenda, we would bring that to the staff, and then they would work it and present it back to us on the agenda item. So we don't ever really generate anything here. It's always been generated outside and comes in, and then that's why it has to be on the agenda. The agenda, people can see that. The public is notified ahead of time, so they know what agenda items are on. So we never want to bring anything that's off the agenda unless there's something that's like an approval for, I think that was a good example of, hey, the calendar might be something that we want to look at, but actual new items, we never want to bring those to add to the agenda, because the hope is that the public has representation if they have something that they want to talk about. Is that correct, Molly?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct. There's
Great.
always the opportunity. I have an open door. I'm hard to nail down sometimes, but between Sam has full control of my calendar. It's not always easy for me, but she'll just book it when she sees an opening, and that means I have to be there. So
Are you in this building or the other?
I'm in this building.
Okay.
Yeah, the neighbor is my mayor, so. The other things that you can do besides just coming to either myself or John, because there's some things that don't even rise to the level of council. There's some things that we can do on the staff level, but the things that you are asked to make formal recommendations on usually correspond to specific things that are outlined in the charter, like fee schedules. We don't have the power to set fee schedules. We don't have the power, or the city manager doesn't have the power to set fee schedules. In the charter that says, must be done via resolution by city council. So whenever you're asked to make a recommendation on things, it has to do with some pretty high-level stuff that's way out of our ballpark, and you guys are just the residents to put the community's thoughts behind it, people that actually utilize our facilities, attend our events, go to our programs, stuff like that.
Great, thank you. All right, staff reports. Mr. Mayberry.
Better, splash pad, and there's the other one. the
Okay.
ball fields.
Start with the splash pad. We had a couple of weeks ago, ran into some electrical problems over there. This time, thankfully, it wasn't staff related. It was natural, it was electrical. We were in close proximity to a small lightning strike, and by process of elimination with our maintenance vendor and him dealing with the manufacturer of the equipment, they sorted out that it was a lightning strike, and it actually blew the program, the operating program, off of the monitors. So we were able to find the thumb drive that had the backup copy of the program, and he was able to reboot it and get everything. We were down for about half a day, but so that's been taken care of. We've made multiple copies of that USB drive, and they're secreted in different places where only we know where they are in case it happens again. Let's see. Yeah, we're looking at different lightning detection, early warning, however how you want to look at it, systems. I've been on the phone with those folks most of the day, different companies, getting educated. There's a lot involved in it. But we recently had the new, I don't know if you've seen, well, I know you have the new perimeter fence around the splash pad. So today we placed a grounding rod out there and got it, so now it's safe and secure. But because of where we live and the proximity of lightning, and how sometimes it's right over that thing, you know, we feel it's in the best interest of the citizens if we have some type of system. And most towns that have splash pads do have them. And we found them up in New Jersey, and many of them, you know, within 100 miles of here. So we're dealing with vendors right now, getting information and quotes on that.
Currently, what is our protocol for lightning?
We have, on our personal phones and city phones, we have weather apps, the more advanced, and that give you the lightning, proximity of lightning strikes. So I usually make the call when it starts and it's within 20 miles, we start watching it pretty hard. If it hits 15, we're headed over there. But at that point, we're manually shutting everything off.
Right.
And locking the gate so people can't get back in there, and then we turn it back on. The lightning protection systems, they would do that automatically. When the metric is hit, that activates the alarms. An alarm would sound, and then it would cut power to the system. And then once it's all clear, it turns it back on.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, and it would be, what we're looking at, and our hope is that it would be enough, not just to warn people on the splash pad, but, you know, we've got the ball field right there behind it, and we've got Sandpiper. It would be loud enough for everybody, you know, and Molly got nice signage that we've placed around the parks. You know, it's got the catchy slogan, when thunder roars, go indoors, or something like that. But we've got them, there are many of them all around town. But if they had, you know, if there was some type of an alarm to get them away from playground equipment or just out of the open. So that's where we are with that.
That'll be great, because I know
Yeah.
that Cocoa Beach, they have one on the school that if it goes off, we have to clear the ball fields.
Yeah.
So we get something similar to that here, that'll
Yeah.
be great.
And right now, we're basically using the old rule of thumb with baseball. You know, when I was a kid, if they saw lightning, we had to clear the field, and we couldn't go back for like a half hour or an hour.
Right.
Since the last strike was seen. So that's sort of where we are now.
Okay.
The ball field project, we've got the new sod has been installed. We, at the beginning of the season, there was a mix-up. We went over where we were on track to tear all the grass off the field, and it was just going to be a sand infield. And then we found out that wasn't going to work, so we did a patch job to try to get it ready for opening day, and it managed to get them through the season so far. So we went into that with the expectation that we were going to replace, dig up the infield and replace it with new grass. We had a lot of weed mixture in there. So that's what we did. We sprayed it with chemicals to kill off the weeds. And then the company came out and tore the old sod up. And then we had several days of wet weather where the sod couldn't be cut out at the vendor's place. They finally got that done. So it's in now. The ball field is closed off to everybody for another 3 weeks unless the grass takes the roots take a really strong hold. And they may, with all this rain, we're getting this cut down on the water that we expected we were going to have to.
Do we have signage on the ball field itself?
It is at both gates, at
Okay.
both entrance gates, yes. And specifically, that when we put it up, it was it's dated, and then it was going to be closed for 4
Great.
weeks. And if if things come out, sooner than that, we'll make it available, but it's, the sod's all in squares and it's got to mesh together, and we don't want to do anything that's going to tear it up, and if something went wrong, void whatever warranty there would be on the sod, so.
Okay.
Yes, and this is the other thing I was working on today. Due to the changes in the scope of the project, we saved quite a bit of money. Joel's aware because I deal with him and his wife with the Little League, but we had 6,500.
23,000 total.
Yeah, and like for the portable mound that we bought, we had $6,500 budgeted for that, and we were able to get it for like 3,400. So we saved quite a bit of money. Did the same. We did the chemical spray and a lot of the work in-house. So we just had to use the vendor to come in and, just grab the old grass out of the way and put the new in. So we saved a lot of money there. And that has allowed us to be able to go out and price a new scoreboard. Because the scoreboard we got is out of warranty, and the company wants roughly $7,000 for a 3-year extended warranty. So we can buy a brand new one, just like the one that's there, for, the lowest price I've got today is under $4,000, and it comes with a 5-year warranty, and then you can extend the warranty before it goes out at a much reasonable cost than what we're getting from these guys. So that's what we're working on now, scoreboard and a lightning protection system.
Great, thank you. Molly?
All right, I have the long list. So I'm going to start with the Backpack Jamboree. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this program, but it has gone on in the city since before I was born, before Mayor Hoag was mayor, probably when his father was on council. Him and a small group of volunteers, a lot of them are no longer with us anymore, started a backpack program where they gathered all the school supplies for students at Cateview Elementary. The program itself has evolved over the years. Different needs come up. People realize that, the expenses for students don't stop at 6th grade. Actually, they increase exponentially every grade of high school that you get into. So we have really dialed in this program, and we've gone digital. We've got the Amazon wish list thing going on. Once upon a time, the city was the one that fully funded this program, bought all the backpacks, bought all the supplies. We would reach out to the VFW and a couple local places, American Legion, to get donations, and they would cut us a check, or they would, go shopping for us and give us some things. But this year, Amy has been assigned this for her first year, and she has absolutely run with it. We did purchase the backpacks. That way we knew a set amount, and it turns out that size does matter in backpacks. If you put a 18-inch backpack on a 5-year-old, they're swimming in it. So we try to, at least control that aspect of it. It doesn't matter what kind of paper we get, but the backpack sizes and quantities are usually pretty important to the program. But we're done collecting donations. We've almost got everything that we need. If you have any organizations that you know of that are interested in making a monetary donation, Amy will be making a trip to the store to fill all the gaps that we have. Mostly loose paper? Mostly loose paper, so that's minimal. But they're having a packing party on August 1st at 10 a.m. at the community center, and you guys are welcome to come and help out if you'd like to lend a hand. And then distribution takes place on August 3rd, and it goes all day. They basically set up kind of 2 windows based on the registration times at the school, so that the parents can go register the kids and then immediately come over, show their slip or their ID, depending upon what, grade in school their kids go to, because this is restricted to residents only. And that starts at 10. It's like 10 to 12, and then they have an evening registration for the parents that work during the day. So they'll be able to pick up bags all day up until 7 p.m., and you're welcome to come and be a part of that. The BCSO is helping with packing and distribution as well. St. David's, which is a local, St. David's by the Sea actually arrived with 2 truckfuls of donations, so they will be on site as well. So I've only met a handful of people from their congregation, so I was going to make it a point to go down, and we'll be definitely sending them a big thank you for their help with that. So once Backpack Jam is in the books, it might as well be Christmas for us. So you're just gear up, because we've got our, our fall Friday fests are always usually our busier ones, because it gets a little more tolerable outside. The mosquitoes kind of dissipate a little bit. And then, of course, we roll right into Trunk or Treat and Holiday in the City. If you don't have a kid at Cape View, then you may not be aware, they have basically an entirely new front office, new principal, new vice principal, new secretary, and a new resource officer from the Sheriff's Department. The community center is the destination point for a worst-case scenario at the school. So today, Amy and I gave the new principal and vice principal the tour. Prior to the previous principal's departure, we had set up kind of a loose action plan, as far as how the building needs to be and what areas of the building are going to be used should we have that worst case scenario. So we went over that to make sure that it was in line with what the new principal was aware of, what they need to do, because obviously they're following their directives from, school board level, and then of course Sheriff's Office works very closely with them on that. We are even coordinating an activity for staff with the help of the Sheriff's Office and the Fire Department on how we, as just regular city employees, can effectively clear that building without giving anybody a heart attack or getting into an argument with somebody that just has 5 more reps and they just want to finish it. So we're building our own skills in how to make that building safer and how to accommodate, emergency situations like that. The principal has been fully briefed. We didn't want to totally bombard her, but she seemed to roll with the punches pretty well. So she knows all of the different events that the school participates in, the different initiatives that we have. She came from Palm Bay, so I can almost guarantee that her city council down there never knew her name because of how many schools and different institutions they have down there. So she was a little overwhelmed in a good way that we're like, oh, you need to come meet our council, and oh, you should come to coffee with city manager. Oh, and we're going to give you about 200 book bags. And so she was delighted. And she's also bringing with her some pretty good ideas. One of the things that she brought up that I wanted to share with this board, because volunteerism is something that's been a common topic. Something that they did down there in conjunction with a few organizations they called it a day of compassion, and it was 1 or 2 days out of the year where they had been approached by, I believe she said it was 1 or 2 church groups, and the church says, what do you need help with? And the days of compassion activities were everything from helping to tidy up their little school community garden to cleaning up the mulch in the flower beds and the playground. And she said one day they came, they had just got a school full of new math books, and those volunteers came in, sorted the books, delivered them to the appropriate grades and classrooms and stuff like that, and just did little things. So we're looking forward to hearing once she gets settled and sees what the needs of our building and our school is, to see what opportunities she throws at us. So we'll definitely be pushing all that information out and helping them coordinate with anything they need. Next up, Cape Center. We closed our first call for artists. We're making selections for that installation. We are still awaiting our certificate of completion. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. I stopped making predictions for it. I should have stopped making predictions a long time ago, but, I try to have hope, try to be positive. So meanwhile, we are developing some of our other exhibits. We are starting interviews for the independent contractors to teach different art programs, and we've had a lot of people reach out to us that are excited for the building, excited for the opportunity to engage here locally. If you're familiar with Outlaw Pottery that used to be out in Cocoa over by Al's Trophy Shop for many, many years, they have moved their business and they have moved here. And they are now residents here on Polk Avenue, and they are delighted to be so close to our facility, and they're the ones that we purchased our kiln through, so they were equally excited that they could help provide maintenance, and they are right down the road. So looking forward to that. To be totally realistic, I'm targeting end of September, because it does, once the contractors are completely done and out of there, that's when I can really begin, because I can't even move city property technically into the building until we technically own the building, because right now it's covered by the contractor's insurance and not the city. So Veterans Memorial Park, that's been a super hot topic around the office this week. The bids came in for that and are, to say dramatically higher than anticipated is a total understatement. We work with capital projects to do big projects like this because they're familiar with the ins, the outs, the stormwater issues, the underground utility needs, how to do the processes, because there's, laws and codes that guide how we do bids, RFQs, RFPs. So I believe the bid that was accepted came in at $750,000, and this project was supposed to be about $500,000. So finance is working with the city manager to identify a solution for that. That'll be presented to council next month. I'm not entirely convinced that it's just that it was under budgeted. I don't think that anybody that conceived of that project when it was first kind of put on the books in 2019 of what was going to happen in the 2 years that followed. And if you look at some of the very basic inflation numbers that are being published, it's broken down by increments now that, we're slowly kind of getting back to normal. But for, I think it was 2022, there was a 35% increase in construction costs, and that had to do with labor, that had to do with materials. So all of that is reflecting in this. And when you take 500,000 and you add 35%, you get up in that 690 to almost 700 range. So that's what we're faced with. It's the same as buying a gallon of milk now or anything else. Everything costs more, so now we just have to figure out how we want to approach that, and that'll be up to council and the city manager to get that going. He covered splash pad operations, ball field project, and now to Civic Hub. So I brought some of the poster boards in from last night. I didn't bring all of them. There was a lot. But we had our first workshop last night. Attendance wasn't great, but attendance, in my experience with the city's little in-person outreach projects like this, it was about to be expected for something like this. The best one we ever had in terms of attendance was the FDOT thing, but that really wasn't our party to throw, so we can't take any credit for that. It always boils down to what's being talked about on how many people can show up, especially during the week. So the purpose of last night's workshop was to collect input to get the community's vision for the project and the amenities that they want to see or not see. I provided all of you with a QR code that'll take you to the survey. The survey is not a replacement for last night's engagement thing, but it's actually a more dialed in. It asks some very specific questions as far as what would your goal, if this was your project, what would your goal for it be? And looking at that through the values and the vision statement that has been established by council. Like, are we looking to improve safety? Are we looking to build revenues? Are we looking to do this, do that, in line with other values and visions for the city? So that QR code, you can pass that along. Some of you guys live in condos, some of you go to churches, have different organizations, pass it along. As you saw from the data, we got a lot of non-residents that have things to say, and they do pay a higher rate on things, so that's definitely something to consider. So anybody that wants to provide feedback, we welcome all ideas, and you have until August 4th to do that. And then the next engagement opportunity that the public will have will be with council on, I believe, September 19th, provided that they all agree to meet on that day. So stand by for that.
And you said that this is open to residents and non-residents?
It's open to everybody because you got to type your zip code, so
Got it.
we're going to know where you're at.
Great, thank you.
I mean, you could lie, but, whatever. So in saying that, this board will be taking a pretty active role when it comes to recommendations, because in addition to the charter required stuff, this is another area where council wants to hear your thoughts. And you guys know these areas better than anybody in the city, apart from people that are literally there every day. So I wanted to put this out as a reminder, because not only is this an occasion where we're asking you as board members to not only represent yourselves, but represent the board and represent the city and collect information from your friends and your neighbors, and on top of all of it, just to make it exciting, it's an election year. So this is kind of new territory for this board. It's been a long time since the board was engaged on a level of a project like this that has so many back and forth. Yeah, it's kind of like the peacocks and the dogs on the beach. Half the town loves them, half the town hates them, and everybody's equally impassioned and has their reasons. So I don't want, I always feel bad when the volunteers take the brunt of that. So I wanted to put this out there, because the code of conduct can be your best friend in helping to kind of separate yourself a little bit and maybe not take as much flack. I mean, people are going to say to you whatever they want to say to you, and there's not much you can do about that. But I pulled a couple points, and after speaking with Mia, because I'm like, most of my board members have not experienced this from a board level yet. They've only experienced it as residents. So she had some good advice, and I reviewed the code of conduct myself. And going into a project where citizens are being actively engaged, or where you have situations where you're actively saying, hey, I sit on this board, and we are advising city council on these matters. Do you have any opinions? What are your thoughts? What would you like to see? So you just kind of put yourself out there. And one of the things that this board kind of has a little bit of an advantage of is the fact that you're not a quasi-judicial board. You're not a board that makes legal decisions. You're not hearing people talk about codes. You're not hearing protests that, affect how someone can build on their lot. It's nothing like that. So you don't have to treat it like it's high-level legal or administrative policy decisions. And maybe not everybody's aware that not every board does that. Every city's different. And one of the things that this board and one or two others in the city, it's and I think it used to be in our name. It used to be Culture and Leisure Services Advisory Board, but, that kept getting longer, so it just kept getting shorter. This board, as Joel said earlier, serves in an advisory capacity, and its role is to make recommendations to council. It doesn't have to oversee day-to-day activities. It doesn't have to oversee policy administration. That's the city manager. So if you get approached by somebody that thinks, oh, this is your fault and you're pushing this, it's like, ooh, no, that's above me. I'm just a resident just like you, and, I'm collecting this information. You can tell me what you want or you can blow me off, but that's all I do. All I do is advise. So when approaching staff or members of the public, the code of conduct says that you will clearly delineate for any audience whether you are acting as or speaking as an individual citizen or in your capacity as a city board or committee member, which easily done. The few people that I've seen engaged do that. Hey, well, I sit on this advisory board, and Joel has to recuse himself from most things because he recognizes his separation as an individual resident, as a facility user, and as a board member. But it might be helpful because we have so many people from different places, and even before our meeting started, we were discussing with Larry about how different cities are run. And you have people coming down from up north. We have a ton of new people, a ton of new residents. They might not realize what our advisory boards do and what the capacity of. So when you tell somebody that you're on an advisory board, you might have to go into a little more detail if they start to go down that road thinking that you're a policymaker. So when people come from different places, and then you have people that have lived here all their life and they just don't engage and they don't know how the system works. So when you're seeking information regarding board business, it's highly advised that you're like, hey, I'm an advisory board person. I'd love to hear your input, but I'm just the messenger. So whether you're talking to neighbors or staff at the different events, because we do have, I think there's only 3 people in my department that are not residents. So that's unprecedented for our department. Whoever you're talking to, you need to make sure they understand where you're coming from and why you're asking questions, because some people will either take it the wrong way or misconstrue it, and then it gets out of hand, and news travels very quickly. So choose your words carefully. I don't want anybody to feel like they're getting put in a weird position where they don't want to volunteer or be on this board anymore because they're getting some weird blowback from people that really don't understand that you guys are just trying to, serve your community and get people's opinions instead of letting people way up the chain just make all the decisions. So you guys are volunteers, you're valued, you're here to advise council. I know you didn't sign on for anything like that. So having these guidelines to help you, I think, is huge. So utilize them, and if you have any problems or you do encounter things where you're getting pretty much a little more than you asked for when it comes to that, send those people my way, send those people to council if they don't want to talk to staff. There's plenty of other ways so that you guys don't become sucked into something that you didn't sign on for. So, but please do reach out, talk to your neighbors, talk to your families, everything like that. Just don't put yourself in a situation where somebody's going to take you the wrong way and maybe give you feedback you didn't deserve.
Yeah. Thanks, Molly. That's a really good reminder. I appreciate that. Do you want us to sign these?
Nope,
Okay,
nope,
these are
you've
just
already
for us to
signed
take
them.
with us. Perfect.
You're already
Yep.
signed them. I just wanted to bring it back out because it's one of those things where every once in a while, I have to go back and read our own codes
Right.
multiple times because there's a lot of rules that guide us, and if we forget what they are, we lose our guidance, so. But that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions about other projects.
Questions for John or Molly? Any other discussion items? Follow up to what they've talked about? All right,
I
Motion.
make a motion to adjourn.
perfect.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.